Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Conservationists Assemble, the show that seeks to team with the world's mightiest wildlife heroes to bring you their incredible knowledge, passion, and stories of Earth's magnificent nature. Whether you're a seasoned veteran in conservation or new to wildlife advocacy, this is the show for you. I am your host, Johnny Bloxham, and each week I'll be bringing you an expert guest on a particular species or topic to inform and inspire us as to how we can and are providing a better future for our planet. This week's episode focuses on the Pygmy slow loris, as well as the work of the Kukang rescue program. The Pygmy slow loris is the smallest member of the loris family, and is found throughout Vietnam, Laos, eastern Cambodia and China. This nocturnal and arboreal primate actually has two recognised species, the northern and the southern Pygmy slow loris. Currently classified as endangered with decline in their numbers, exactly how many mature individuals that remain in the wild is unknown. There is still a lot of work left to be done for the Pygmy slow loris, and this episode hopes to raise the profile for this species to inspire action. With no action recovery plan in motion at the moment, but with some protection in their native habitat, this species is reliant on the conservation efforts taking place in order to preserve them both locally, but also in zoos globally. Joining the ranks of the Conservationists Assemble initiative today is Frantisek, representing the work of the Pygmy slow loris EEP out of Ostrava Zoo in the Czech Republic, and as Director of Wildlife Preservation at the Kukang Rescue Program. Frantisek, thank you for joining the podcast today. How's it going?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm glad to hear you're doing well, and I'm thrilled to have you on the podcast today. And actually, we're going to be discussing a few different species of loris by the end of it. But yeah, we're here to talk mainly about two things. The first one is kind of your role as the Pygmy slow loris EEP coordinator and the role of zoos in their conservation. But also about your work with the Kukang rescue program. So to start off with, could you just tell us, what is a Pygmy slow loris?
I am. So good afternoon for you. Good evening for me. Pygmy slow lorises are smallest loris species. They are small endangered nocturnal and arboreal prosimian species. Unlike other primate, it does not leap. Very interesting is that in 2022 there was happening taxonomic revision when from originally one species of Pygmy slow loris were recognized two. One is northern Pygmy slow loris from northern Vietnam, Laos, and China, and second is the southern Pygmy slow loris from southern Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. The slow lorises usually live together in small groups when there is one male with few females usually, and with them are one or two offsprings. Maybe you would be interested how big they are. So adults can grow to around 20 centimeters long and has very short tail. And usually their weight is about 450 grams. And they have really interesting diet, which is consisting from mainly insects, small animals, but also tree sap, fruits, and floral nectar. But maybe most interesting information about slow lorises in general is that they have toxin bite, which it gets by licking the toxin secretion from the glands on the inner side of their elbows. So pretty interesting animals, I would say.
Yeah, really interesting. And yeah, thank you. It's a really kind of great insight into lots of different elements of what they are. So you mentioned that they're an endangered primate. And what are the threats to the Pygmy slow loris?
For Pygmy slow lorises, they are intensively hunted for pet trade. So basically mean that because they are cute, so people want to keep them as the pets. But it's not all. They are also extensively hunting for traditional medicine, which is happening especially in Cambodia. The Pygmy slow loris is seriously threatened also by habitat destruction, like most of other wildlife. but there is, for example, for like Pygmy slow lorises itself, the habitat in Vietnam was greatly reduced during the Vietnam War because of burning, clearing, and defoliating of the forest. So all of them are endangered. Like all of slow lorises species are endangered. They are listed in Appendix 1 of CITES, and by International Union for Conservation of Nature, they are classified as the endangered species.
And in terms of kind of trying to prevent the threats to the pygmy slow loris, but also I suppose then by extension other loris species, what organisations exist to help with their conservation?
Yeah, if we want to look on everything, then we can say that in each country there is some kind of government body or Ministry of Environment and Forestry, which protect all endangered animals. And in all countries where Pygmy slow lorises occurs, they are legally protected by law by the government. But next to this, there are of course some NGOs. I know few for Pygmy slow lorises. For example, Endangered Primate Rescue Center in northern Vietnam, and Endangered Asian Species Trust in southern Vietnam. But I would say there is not so many NGOs focusing on protection of slow lorises because sadly, most of NGOs are focusing more on like big charismatic sexy species like our tigers, rhinos, orangutan, elephants, dolphins, and not so many are focusing on small mammals or birds or fish. Yeah, so not so many, not so many.
So yeah, certainly you're saying that there's still a role for or a need for more NGOs focusing on loris conservation.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Uh, there is not so many, and we can say that one NGO can cover just not too big part of the country, and there is just few and not everywhere. So there is huge space for young, ambitious conservationists to set up their own NGO focusing on slow loris conservation. Definitely.
And it's really great to hear that there's definitely at least government presence involved in loris conservation. So that's a really kind of nice thought. And do the NGOs and the government work together then?
In some cases, yes. In some cases, no, because some NGOs are kind of blacklisted by governments, usually more like activistic or radical NGOs who are also not too interested in cooperation with the government. But there is many examples of really close cooperation, and it works well. So it depends, yeah.
Yes.
But I can, like in general, I can say they usually the NGO needs to cooperate on some level with government. Otherwise, it not easier.
Yeah, it's great to hear that the ones that are cooperating with government are seeing great reward and benefits from doing so. And as your role as EEP coordinator for Pygmy Slow Loris, how then would you say zoos are contributing to slow loris conservation?
Yeah, there are two different ways what zoos can do. One is supporting these NGOs, like in situ in the place where the species live, and zoos usually support those organizations financially and by donating equipment. And there is also second way how the zoos can contribute, and it's by breeding the animals, by breeding the slow lorises in this case. So there is the chance that in the future zoos can provide bred Pygmy slow lorises for release to the wild in the places where the species originally occurred, but population was decimated. So it's happening quite often with birds all around the world, but mainly in Europe still. Not so often with mammals yet, but this is what zoos do. They breed the different endangered taxa, different endangered species in their care in the zoos, in the purpose to have back population, which could be in the future released back to the wild. So that's what the zoos do for slow lorises too. And of course, the zoos have next to this, the zoos has huge power to educate their visitors about the wildlife and their threats. It can motivate millions of the peoples to do something, even for pygmy slow lorises. Next to this, the zoos have also big number of great zoologists and animal keepers who have valuable knowledge about the biology and breeding of animals, and this knowledge may one day be invaluable in the reintroduction animals back into the wild. So also zoos can cooperate with NGOs in the countries who are focusing on rehabilitation, like rescue, rehabilitation, and release, to make sure that there is higher possibility for animals who are released to survive in the wild. Yeah.
And let's just talk. So, could you just tell our listeners about the zoo that you are representing today?
The my zoo?
Yeah.
You mean? Yeah, I work for Ostrava Zoo, is the zoo in Czech Republic. We are quite big. It's like 100-hectare big zoo placed in the forest, actually. So we have great possibility to create natural enclosures for animals. We also breed pygmy slow lorises. It's actually not possible to see it for the public. We have them in backstage, exactly for this breeding purposes, to creating the backup population, which could be released back to the wild. We are really strongly committed to the conservation, both ex situ and in situ. And there is interesting news that this year, in 2 months, in beginning of the June, we are organizing the biggest zoo conservation conference or forum, which is called IAZA, Conservation Forum for all zoos in the Europe, which are member of European Association of Zoos and Aquaria.
And that's the
So
first time you've had the conference at Ostrava, is it?
It is first time when it's in Czech Republic, actually.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we are like quite really focusing on conservation, also supporting different projects. We have around 15 projects which we support financially usually, but also few of them where are our employees involved personally. I'm one of the example because I'm most of the year living in Asia, especially in Sumatra, where I am leading the Kukang rescue program, and zoos pay me to do that. So it's also great possibility to do the conservation, because it means I don't have to search for money for my own salary, and all donations or all support we get is going to salaries of Indonesian team or operational cost of the NGO.
And yeah, I'm actually glad that you brought up the Kukang rescue program, as it's a great time now to kind of move into the in situ programs for other loris species, and how zoos are contributing. So it's great that you've got a background of both how ex situ conservation organisations work, but also in situ, so you can provide that insight into how they're collaborating. So yeah, could you please give us a brief history of the rescue program?
Of the Kukang rescue program?
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's the Kukang rescue program was established in 2014, and with main focus on fighting illegal wildlife trade, or illegal trade with slow lorises and other endangered wildlife. Since that time, we established several projects. One is protecting buffer zone of one part of ecosystem Loiser, where is National Park Loiser. In that place, we employed some few expoachers who became to be our field rangers. And in that area, we also established another project. It's called Kukang Coffee Project, which transformed local farmers' community in around 400 people into conservationists by supporting their eco-friendly coffee production. So it works quite well. Who is interested more in this can take a look on Netflix, documentary series called Our Greater National Parks, narrated by Barack Obama. And in episode Loiser, there is mentioned, and there is part with our coffee project and showing also our exposures team. Next to this, we also establish environmental school, which is called Kukang School, focusing on teaching local kids English and environmental education for free. And we are also actively fighting against wildlife traffickers. So, but all these activities are focused mainly on protection of greater and Sumatran slow lorises in Sumatra Island. But we are also connected to Pygmy slow loris conservation in human care in modern zoological garden. I can say that mainly in the Europe, because in European zoos we have not only one loris like these days we have only one loris species, which is Pygmy slow loris, in sustainable population numbers, but the population is currently small and sensitive to crash in population size. It has a high number of older individuals dying. Many females are not in a breeding position. Breeding females are old, and there is quite high infant mortality in the first month. So we like our NGO, which is mainly focusing on protecting slow lorises in Asia, started to little bit help of the European zoos with this issue. Because unfortunately we find ourselves in the situation where population of slow lorises are also declining in human care in modern zoos, and this threatens their breeding and maintenance and backup population. So that's why we came up with one of the possible solution in the form of contribution of breeding center for Pygmy slow lorises in European Association of Zoological Garden and Aquariums. So, like in this case, we cooperate with a group of the experts called Prosimian Tank and Katarzyną Biskis from Poznan Zoo, and we are trying to create sustainable backup population of slow lorises in human care. It maybe sounds a little bit difficult, but the main goal is to somehow a little bit more motivate the European zoos to breed the slow lorises, don't lose them in human care, because I can see on my own eyes how difficult it is to preserve or to protect the slow lorises in the wild, and I cannot 100% say that we will not fail. And in the case we fail, there are no more lorises in the wild, and only last chance is to have them in human care and possibly release them back to the wild once the situation is better. So that was just briefly about the Kukang Rescue Program and what we do both for Sumatran slow lorises and Pygmy slow lorises.
No, it's a really great insight into the program, and it's great that things like Netflix are picking up some of the projects that are being accomplished out there. I'm sure that's great for continuing those projects going forward. So yeah, thank you for also touching on how having an established breeding program before it's too late is kind of the ideal thing. What actions need to happen to help the chances, or the improve the chances of survival for loris in the wild?
Yeah, that's that's good question. Uh, uh, as I mentioned before, Usually the governments in some way protect slow lorises in the wild. They are protected by law, but definitely there is not enough strong law enforcement. So this law enforcement of wildlife trade have to or need to be improved. So because the slow lorises are mainly threat by wildlife trade next to the habitat destruction, which is for all species. So like kind of government focused on reducing wildlife trade would be one solution. Next to this, of course, education is also key to change the current. Young people needs to learn about the value of not only pygmy lorises but all wildlife and nature. And next to this, it's also very important to have this healthy and genetically robust population in human care in the zoos, which I mentioned before. Yeah. So like all these aspects need to be need some attention, yeah, from us.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, I think it's obviously a common goal for zoos that they want to make those changes. So I'm sure in the future we'll start seeing a better outcome for pygmy slow loris. So what is your
Yep.
favourite fact about lorises, or what kind of first really got you excited to work with them?
There is a lot. I don't know if I have to pick up just one. Usually when I speak to the students or to the kids, I call them like UFO or like aliens of the jungle, because they are really they are really incredible and strange animals. Uh, they have a big amount of specialties, like they are eating this tree gum with their special tooth combs which they have in lower jaw. But my favorite one is that there are only one venomous primate in the world. So that no one would expect from slow lorises, because they are cute, really like slowly moving, big eyes, nocturnal primates, and everyone want to cuddle them. But if you will try to cuddle them, they will bite you and you can die because they are poison. So that's my favorite fact.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. So yeah, what purpose does having that toxin provide for a loris?
Yeah, actually, they have in the inner side of the elbows, they have the glands that produce the toxin, and it's not poison yet. They need to lick it and mix with saliva in the mouth, and then they have there is happening this chemistry magic when it becomes to be poison, and then they have it in the mouth, and once they bite you, you can get it to your blood, and then something bad can happen. But I can say that they are not too poisonous, like for example the cobras or like poisonous snakes. It's more like poison of wasp or
Right.
something like that, like stronger, yeah, stronger. So usually, if slow loris bite you, it will be definitely painful. There will be a lot of blood, and you will get some infection inside. But if you are not allergic on slow loris poison, then you would not die. You would survive.
So it is purely a defense response from to stop them from being predated upon initially, and obviously the risk of humans being bitten is because that's an unnatural threat.
Yeah, we don't know much about the slow lorises, to be honest. Like there is still needed to be a lot of research and to be sure about these things. But what is the theory, and that's probably true in this case, is that they use the poison for fighting each other. Like the males usually are quite territorial and the territorial animals, so the males are fighting for territory for females. And also, there is one theory which is not proved 100%, but they use this poison as the protection against the insect, and also the mothers are licking the babies, so they are supposed to be smelly for predators, for example. And one of their predators are orangutans, which is kind of surprising for most of the people.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, but this is not happening, for example, in Vietnam, in Cambodia, and Laos, where our pygmy loris is from. But this is happening in Indonesia, where our greater slow loris or Sumatran slow loris is from. They often meet with orangutans, and if orangutans catch them, they could be eaten by them.
Yeah, to be fair, that
Yeah,
surprised me. I'm one of those people that's surprised by that. I would not have considered orangutan as a predator for a loris.
yeah, not so many people. They are cute. Orangutans too, right?
Yeah. So, what was your first experience with loris? Was it in the Czech Republic, or was it when you first came over to Asia?
Uh, I saw loris for first time on my own lies when I was kid. It was actually pygmy slow loris in Děčín Zoo in Czech Republic. At the time, I remember just that I loved their huge eyes and very slow and hesitant movement. Uh, but that's just like brief memory, and then I really meet them when I knew it's slow loris. It was in Indonesia in wildlife trade market, yeah, in the streets in the small cages.
Oh wow! So your kind of your first real adult experience was while you was visiting Asia, and tell us, yeah, what did seeing a loris that was destined for the pet trade do? Kind of what spark or what did that inspire in you?
Yeah, it was the time I did my diploma thesis about illegal wildlife trade, so I was kind of prepared for this to see. So yeah, of course, it was sad to see it, like kind of emotional to watch these cute animals in small cage. But I just like realized that there need to be something happen to protect them, because I knew that they are like endangered animal, totally protected by law, but same time freely uh, for sale in the streets. So I was just thinking about this more than about how to save this one individual, because yeah, it was also, I remember, I don't know if it was really first one, but during the time I also saw a lot of lorises painted by white color, because for people they look cuter when they are white. So it was like, you can see it even now in the streets in Jakarta, for example. They are usually baby macaques painted on white, because they just like it. So I saw also lorises, so it was like, yeah, like big experience set, but I was prepared for this to see that time. Yeah. Otherwise, I would not do that.
Yeah. I suppose being prepared for it a little bit would have helped. But it's really shocking to hear that they paint them a different color, and that's perceived to be more enjoyable.
Yeah, that's happening.
So, Frantisek, thank you for giving us an insight into kind of the background of why we're talking about slow lorises in terms of their threats and the things that are taking place to help preserve them. And lastly, before we move on to learn a little bit more about you, what can everyone do, or how can everyone get involved in loris conservation, even if they aren't directly working with them?
Yeah, yeah. That definitely, you can, like, everyone can support the NGO they like if they are interested in slow lorises. They can support the zoos, which is keeping slow lorises. So it could help the zoo to preserve them or support another NGO. But actually, general public plays a huge role in awareness, especially on social media, because this time social media is big thing, right? Everyone is there and everyone has it in the phones and computers, and everyone is sharing and liking. So if anyone sees see cute videos with slow lorises as pets, they can give their comments saying that they are definitely not good and sustainable pet, and that it is actually in the fact the torturing of these incredible animals. Because there was research done by a team of Anna Nekaris from UK actually, and she was focusing on how these cute videos of slow lorises in the YouTube or in the social media can affect the actually wildlife trade in the country of their occurrence. And they found out that actually this is big problem for the populations, especially when these videos or photos are shared by celebrities. Because imagine, for example, it happens several years ago that singer Rihanna, she took a picture with Pygmy Loris actually with this our interview interview focused animal, and she took a picture. She shared it on her social media, and it was seen by millions of the people all around the world. And of course, they share it again. They like it and they put the comments under, and you can imagine that there was also many, I would say also millions of the people, millions fans from Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, any countries where you can buy slow lorises in the streets. And of course, more these people realize that Rihanna like to keep the slow lorises. They want when they want it too, maybe. And from this million people, there could be hundreds of people who are starting to be interested, 100,000 people who can start to be interested in the animals. And from these hundreds of thousand people, there can be few thousands of people who want to buy them actually. And it already can affect the wildlife population just because of social media and when famous celebrity or one famous actor. So people should be also aware about this when they are doing something on social media, and definitely connected to slow lorises. It was big issue. So not only supporting NGOs, you don't need any money for this, but you can just spread awareness online. Easy.
Yeah, certainly a great point of being responsible on social media to what kind of actions you're promoting, and certainly I suppose highlighting the importance of how actually celebrity endorsement, if used correctly, could be great for conservation, but also, like you say, in the wrong hands can be incredibly detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah, it works on both sides. So, for example, Leonardo DiCaprio is doing great job for fighting climate change or for conservation itself, and there is many of them. But at the same time, some of them are not too responsible, like Leonardo.
And so, moving away from the Loris now, could you just tell us how you got to where you are in your career? What journey did your career path take to allow you to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I'm actually a former IT guy. I studied my first university was focused on IT and programming. But that time I already knew that I have to do something else. That it's not my way, and I wanted to protect animals since I was the kid. So I kind of just uh, was searching for some possibilities. And when I finished this first university, I chose Czech University of Life Science in Prague and field of animal biology with focus on wildlife conservation. So that was actually thing that I really loved, and it's show me the direction. And then I did this diploma thesis that I mentioned that was focusing on description of wildlife, illegal wildlife trade in Indonesia, and it was it should also like the goal was also to find some solutions for that. So I visited several biggest wildlife markets in Java, Sumatra, and Borneo, as well as some NGOs and rescue centers because I wanted to see the both sides. And the result was that there is a huge trade with many wildlife species, including slow lorises. And especially with slow lorises, the one of the main problem was that there is no any specialized NGO or rescue center focusing on protecting them and rehabilitation confiscated slow lorises from black trade in Sumatra. So as part of this thesis, I designed such as rescue center and goals of NGO, which need to be done. And after I finished my university, I went to Sumatra with Lucie Čižmářová from Olomouc, and we realized this idea as the Kukang Rescue Program. So it was the beginning, like study, diploma thesis. I wanted to see the problem on my own eyes, and then I wanted to do something for that in the way that is sustainable, I would say, or like, some like data supported way. Yeah.
And so now that you spend more of your time in Southeast Asia and with the Kukang Rescue Program, what kind of routine or what is part of your daily routine?
Yeah, I work, I would say I'm 9 months per year in Asia and 3 months per year in the Europe. And I work as the director of this NGO, the Kukang Rescue Program, and we have around 20 employees. So it could sound kind of adventurous, but in the fact, I have to manage these people, I have to secure funding, I have to controlling the project, I have to assess it, and it means a lot of communication, organizing, and computer work. Actually, in the fact, so I'm back into the IT. But when I'm lucky, I also get to the field. So and next to this, I also work for our zoo. So I would say that every my day is different. One day I can be solving the problem with broken toilet and problems between the employers. But next day I can be on the meeting with politicians, and after that I would go to the jungle. So I don't have actually a typical day. Yeah.
And so what, would you say that there's one lesson working out in Sumatra has taught you?
Working in Sumatra.
Yeah, what have you learned from working in Sumatra compared to working in the Czech Republic?
Yeah, yeah, that was like it's hard to answer actually because it's like so many things. It's like different, totally different worlds, Sumatra and Europe, let's say. It was like a huge culture shock when I got there. I had to learn a lot about the local people, about the local culture, about the local religion, about I had to learn the language, for example, because they don't speak English almost at all in Sumatra. So without that, I would not communicate for sure. And I have to learn to be independent, and I had to get a lot of humility for everything what I do. So it was it's like totally different world for me. It was, and I'm glad that on the beginning it was quite slowly because I had time to learn everything and realize that, for example, I cannot bring my European ideas to Indonesian Sumatran people, and I have to do it in kind of their way, but same time bring something positive from, I can say, the way that I think is the correct. So like learning, and but if I would say one word, it's humility.
Yeah, no, I think it's certainly important to adopt, almost a hybrid in the sense of what can be most effective.
Yeah.
So, what surprised you most when you first moved out to Asia?
The surprise?
Yeah, well, was there anything
Um,
that you wasn't expecting when you first moved out there?
I didn't have much expectation that time. I remember, like I was there going. I was actually going first time to Sumatra as the volunteer of another project. So there was people kind of providing me some basement and some like care, let's say. So it was not really like random traveling first time, and like bigger surprise was like weather, language, the prices, the food. I don't know. I cannot choose one. It's like I think it's also it would sound strange for listeners that because I think you need to try it on your own skin and then
Sure. Yeah.
you will realize that how difficult is this to describe it.
So yeah, Frantisek, thank you for kind of giving us an insight into your career and how you got to where you are. We're just going to finish with some light-hearted questions just to learn a little bit more about what makes you tick, kind of thing. So, are there any dream species that you'd love to see in the wild?
For me to see any species is an incredible experience, but I always wanted to see the pangolin for many years. But I was lucky to see it in our field area already,
Oh,
like
amazing.
7 months ago. So this dream species happened already. But yeah, I can say that because we are employing one ex pangolin poacher that was really like poaching them in huge amounts before, and because we eliminated this poaching in that Loisra ecosystem area, then they are slowly coming back. So we are happy about it. But I would love to see the blue whale underwater in the ocean. That would be nice. I think it has to be a breathtaking experience to see something too massive.
Yeah, both great answers and amazing that you've been able to see pangolins, but also equally as amazing to hear that actually the population is
Mhm.
hopefully facing a better future, in at least in that area of the world.
Yeah.
Are there any other countries or continents that you'd love to visit?
I saw quite a lot already, so I definitely cannot complain about this, but I would love to visit Australia one day.
Nice, yeah, some great wildlife out there.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of protected compared to other places.
Yeah, definitely. So when you're not working, how do you relax in Sumatra?
Uh, I love going to the gym where I kept my physical condition. I not in Sumatra, but when I'm in the Czech, I love playing golf. If I have a little bit more of time, it's a little bit strange hobby for conservationists, I know. But I can say that conservation work is my biggest hobby actually, and life mission. So I don't feel like working when I do what makes me happy. So once I will be old, if I will survive until that time, actually, I want to look back and be sure that I did my part to the maximum to save or protect as much animal as possible. So I try to work a lot, but yeah, I like sport. I like to meeting the friends, and actually, since we started with this coffee project, I also like to spending time in coffee shops.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose a very good point in a sense that when you enjoy what you do, it's not surprising that is what you want to do most of the time.
Yeah.
How can our listeners keep up to date with the work of the Kukang Rescue Program and Ostrava Zoo?
Of course, we have social media, so everyone interested, it's easy to tap Ostrava, Zoo Ostrava or Kukang Rescue Program on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube and on our website. But during the last 2 years, yeah, that would be interesting to say maybe. During last 2 years, I was creating quite a lot of documentary movies. This year we are releasing one documentary movie called Kukang movie. I know it's everything Kukang, but it's like we started like Kukang Rescue Program, Kukang Coffee Project, Kukang School. Now we have Kukang movie. It is time-lapse documentary movie about our work in Sumatra. So now it will be in some festivals, TV, and soon also online. So I think if anyone is interested to see how difficult it is to work in conservation of slow lorises in Sumatra, this would be best, because it's like time-lapse documentary showing also not only successes but also the problems we have. And next to this, during last 2 years, we were filming documentary series actually about the role of the zoos in wildlife conservation. It will be 6 episodes about different project and conservation approaches, all connected to zoos. Each episode will happen partly in the zoo and partly in the project sites, like it's Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, Spain, and Czech Republic. So want to see this. We don't have any social media yet, but if people could maybe follow like my social media, my working social media pages, where I will definitely share more. And this would be really interesting for the people, because like maybe the people who like listen this podcast, because it is both connected to ex situ conservation, connected to the zoos, but same time it's kind of exotic because it happening in these countries I mentioned, and it is all about the conservation in different approaches, different projects. And by this way, I want to little bit pay back to the zoos for the possibility to be able working in the conservation how I can, because without the zoos, actually, without zoos employing me and without all support we are getting from them, I don't want to say that all support we get is from the zoo. It's not like that. We have many individual supporters and many volunteers, but the zoos are our main supporters. And by this documentary series, I want to little bit pay back for this, because I feel like that general public is still like quite unaware about what is the role of modern zoological gardens in conservation. They still think it's kind of just entertainment and keeping the animals in the cages, which is actually not true. During let's say last 30 years, the zoos definitely changed a lot, and now now without the conservation mission they would not make sense, and there is still more and more happening thanks to the zoos. Yeah, so this was long answer to your question. Sorry for that, but it just jumped into my head.
No, it's a great answer, and certainly, yeah. It sounds like the your projects and the podcast have similar kind of outlook on things in terms of highlighting the importance of zoos. I certainly look forward to seeing the movie and the documentary series come out, and yeah, I'll be sure to share them when they are. So I'll be watching. And before I let you go, then, what is one thing that you think our listeners should take away from today's episode?
That wildlife are not sustainable pets. connected to slow lorises, which are usually threatened by pet trade. And but in general, I would say that, like, for listeners, like, every single of us matters and has the role to play, and every single of us can make huge difference, and we do it every single day. So I would say that if I expect that all of your listeners are caring about nature and wildlife, and if someone wants to do something for them, it's possible.
Yeah, a great point to finish up on there. So, Frantisek, thank you for your time today and giving your knowledge and experience on pygmy slow loris conservation, but also the conservation work of the Kukang rescue program. We wish you all the support in the rest of your career, and we'll be sure to keep up to date with all of the projects that you've got going on. And with that, another episode of the Conservationists Assemble has come to an end. I hope you all enjoyed listening to Frantisek as much as I did, and feel inspired to help move the needle more in the pygmy slow loris' favour. Be sure to follow Frantisek's work, as well as the work of Ostrava Zoo and the Kukang Rescue Programme, all of which can be found on the podcast Instagram page. Please like, share, follow, rate and interact with the podcast, as this helps spread the word and keep us bringing some amazing stories to you. I hope to see you all next time.